Chest up, shoulders back. This is Revival Fitness, your home for gains and brains. And it's about freaking time. It's taken a fair amount of trial and error to get to this point, but I think I have finalized the new bulking diet. That's right, kids, it is Cultivating Mass Season 3. I've never been somebody that grows remarkably fast, yet I am in an activity to which being as big as possible is the name of the game. So we have a lot to cover in this video. We're going to go over the calories and do the math and see how fat I allegedly should get very quickly on this diet, go over the macros, the foods themselves, as well as supplements. But first, I want to talk about how I ended up on carnivore in the first place, because I'm sure some of you, based on just seeing the title and thumbnail, you're mashing away on the keyboard, "Oh, this diet is terrible, bro. Why would you ever eat this way? It's such a bad idea. It's so dangerous." It's really not, but if you are stuck in the mainstream headspace when it comes to these subjects, that's what you're going to think, because that's all you've been told, and you don't know any better. And I'm not saying that to be mean. I used to have the same opinions myself until I actually really dug into this topic and learned much more about it. And on that note, I am proud to announce that it is finally here. The Body Composition Bible. Nutrition principles for more muscle and less fat. I have taken everything that I have obsessively learned and studied the past number of years, as well as my own experience with clients, tons of references. I compiled it all into this relatively concise, but absolutely information-packed guide. And you can also grab a training program if you are sick of wasting time in the gym. I get many comments, guys, about training and eating questions. I've condensed this about as much as I possibly can in these things, so be sure to check those out. So the question now is, why carnivore? You guys might have seen in my prep leading up to this past show, I was purely carnivore on some days. I like to say that as eating only animal products. I've seen some people say carnivore is 70% or more of your total intake as animal products. I'm not sure where that came from or what, I guess, the formal definition is, but this diet you're going to see is exclusively animal products besides, I think, one or two things. So I first tried this out last spring because I was getting a pretty significant skin problem. It was psoriasis as far as I could tell. I had red blotches all over my body, my arms, my legs, my torso, under my arms. So you look up elimination diets, skin condition diets, you kind of sift through all the stuff. Once you start doing that, you're going to eventually lead to carnivore. I mean, you could really say that all roads lead to carnivore eventually, and I said, why not? I've got nothing to lose. I went carnivore for a month. My skin completely cleared up. So that's when I first realized, okay, there is something to this diet. So I'm gonna recap now the two prior bulks you guys have seen me do since coming on YouTube just over 4 years ago. So the first time I started bulking on here was fall of 2020, that infamous video, 4,000 calories a day, full day of eating. That got a lot of views, even when my channel was really small back then. I started out at 4,000 calories, gradually increased it. I went from 167 pounds up to 190 pounds over the span of 1.5 years. I then cut back down to pretty much the same weight, 167 pounds for my first show, that disaster class. After that, I bulked for another 1.5 years, and this time, it was over 5,000 a day, as I have outlined all of these in full day of eating videos if you want to check them out. Toward the end of that bulk, I was pushing the pedal to the metal because I was aiming for the 315 bench, which I hit, and I hit 200 pounds body weight. And at the end of that, I was eating everything in sight, essentially. I was having macaroni and cheese and pancakes, as well as beef and eggs. I then did my recent show. I got down to the weight I basically started lifting at, 155 or so pounds, by the time I was on stage, and now we're going to bulk. I would say a goal here is 225 pounds. That might be a bit lofty, but why not at least aim for it? But without question, I have to get over 200 pounds, and I want to keep this on the leaner side. That's the biggest goal I have with this bulk, because people in the carnivore space often talk about they can eat almost as much as they want, and they rarely seem to gain much body fat, if any at all. And that really angers people because they say, no, that's not possible. Well, I'm going to put that to the test. I am going to be eating over 6,000 calories a day and doing so not just for a month or for a couple weeks like a little short-term experiment. This is going to be for, realistically, probably another 1.5 years, maybe even 2 years. I want to really compare this because I've eaten the typical mixed diet, typical higher carb diets in the past. I've never done this way of eating long-term in a bulking phase, and I want to see what happens. You remember those old messages that came up before WWE came on that said, do not try this at home, and gave that message and that disclaimer? I'm giving you the same one here. Do not try this at home. I am a trained professional, and I'm not a formal scientist, but I am a bro scientist, and I've got a PhD in that. So with that said, and now let's do the formal calorie calculations. And this is something I have got flack for on my previous bulks too, because based on the surpluses I was in, I should have gotten obese multiple times by this point. People always say, oh well, you just didn't track properly, bro. The whole calorie thing, it's nothing more than a ballpark estimation, and calories do not even describe what we absorb from the food we eat. You guys will figure this out eventually, maybe. Actually, you probably won't, but it is what it is. So age, I just turned 28. Height, I am 5'10". My current weight at the start of this, stabilizing after the show, was about 185 pounds. And then the activity. So this is something that's kind of funny in its own right. You pick your activity multiplier and you find your so-called maintenance calories, your TDEE, based on what you input and this estimate here. Which again is extremely vague, but people think this is like some ironclad hard science. So what I'm going to do, guys, for the purpose of this experiment, I'm going to pick the highest outputs possible to make the margin of error as small as possible. And you're still going to see how much weight I should be gaining. But here's our categories: sedentary, little or no exercise, exercise 1 to 3 times a week, 4 to 5, intense exercise 3 to 4 times a week, or daily. You see, these are just very vague. Intense exercise 6 to 7 times a week, and then extra active is very intense exercise daily or a physical job. So I do stand during the day. I have a standing desk. I'm standing right now as I record this. Let's just pick the extra active one. So let's see what it tells me. So to maintain weight, and mind you, I picked the highest energy multiplier possible, 3,449 calories a day. Now let's show the info for weight gain. Mild weight gain is 36.99. 1 pound a week, that is the 500 surplus, as you can see, compared to that. 3,949 calories a day. Fast weight gain, 2 pounds a week. Nobody has any need to do that. 4,449 calories a day. So we could just even round up and say 4,500. So I am 2,500 calories per day over this amount here that says I should maintain my weight, and that is 1,500 more than the point that I should be gaining, apparently, 2 pounds a week. So based on this calculator, every subsequent 250 calorie addition is going to net 0.5 more pounds gained per week. So if we take 6,000, subtract it from the maintenance weight, 2,551, divide that by 500, which should equal 1 pound gain a week. That gives us a multiplier of 5.1. Let's multiply that by half a year, 26 weeks. I should gain over 132 pounds by the beginning of 2025. So you can place your bets below as to what you think is going to happen. And this is even funnier because I've been eating over 6,000 calories a day on most days since my show, which was not even 2 months ago at the time of this recording. You can see on the screen now the comparisons of my physique when I was just a few days out versus more recently. This was about a month after the show, and I obviously gained back a good amount of body fat. Not excessive though, and I can still see my abs without even flexing terribly hard. So I would love to keep visible abs for the duration of this entire bulk, and I've been trying out different versions of this diet. They all have been at least 6,000 calories a day. As you can imagine, eating this much food on any diet is quite the challenge, but on carnivore especially, with as satiating as a lot of these foods are, this is far from easy. I mean, I am basically eating from the moment I wake up to the moment I go to bed. I am having to force feed. I have to just kind of stare at the food and will myself into eating it. As I've talked about before, guys, this is the epitome of first world problems. Like, oh, I have so much food to eat, God forbid. So finally, without further ado, let's dive into the foods themselves. Those of you who've been here a while know that I start every day with breakfast, and that is 6 eggs, right? Wrong. Double it, give it to the next person. We're up to 12 eggs a day. That's right, a whole dozen, and I combine that with half a pound of sausage. And the sausage is something that I have not regularly eaten, I don't think ever, at least not in a very long time. And I gotta say, throwing it back into the breakfast rotation, this stuff is pretty tasty. Something I want to note right off the bat, you can see that I am using stainless steel to cook the eggs, and stainless steel or cast iron to cook the sausage. Up until very recently, I used non-stick cookware, but I recently made this switch exclusively to these two because they do not contain any PFAs. I'm not going to go into an entire spiel about what these things are, but these are going to be found in any type of non-stick cookware, and it is kind of annoying to get the eggs not to stick in stainless steel. A quick trick you can use is heat the pan up until you get this reaction right here. Basically, the water is going to form bubbles that bounce in the pan. Once you see these, the pan is going to be ready for use, so I put butter in it as soon as I see those. Then I pour the eggs in. There is a bit of sticking that occurs, but it is very minimal. When I first started using the stainless steel, I got all kinds of sticking. It was getting very annoying. So using that trick is going to make this process a lot easier. So since the pans get preheated, these things cook pretty quickly. I also put in approximately 4 tablespoons of butter. That is spread out across the day. I use approximately 2 when making this meal. But the dozen eggs come out to 72 grams of protein, 60 grams of fat. The half a pound of pork comes out to 36 grams of protein and 51 grams of fat. And I also add 2 slices of this mozzarella cheese from Tillamook. That is a fun name. They're based in Oregon, in the United States. This cheese is great quality. It's very tasty. I melt these on top as well. The cheese slices, 2 of them comes out to 10 grams of protein, 2 grams of carbs, and 12 grams of fat. And I put some sour cream on this dish too. This is a very big bowl. You might not be able to really tell based on the camera angle, but this bowl is gigantic. If I finish cooking by, say, 9 a.m., oftentimes it will be around noon when I finally finish that final bite. I will usually dig into it quickly, and then I hit that wall of hunger. I'm just totally stuffed. Some time goes by, I kind of pick at it, then I'll finally finish it. So in total, this breakfast comes out to 118 grams of protein, 2 grams of carbs, and 123 grams of fat, totaling 1,497 calories. So as I finish up the first meal and let it cool off a bit, I prepare the second meal, which is ice cream. Not anabolic ice cream, carnivore ice cream, featuring only 2 ingredients and no ice cream maker needed. Now, of course, if you want to make this more aesthetically pleasing and have the best texture possible, you can use an ice cream machine. You guys know me, I am very culinarily lazy. I don't care how good my food looks, I just need to get it eaten. That's all I really care about. So, how I make this is I get 1 pint of raw heavy cream. That comes out to 2 cups. Now, you can see on the label here, given that it's raw dairy, it is labeled as pet food, not for human consumption. But that's okay because I got that dog in me. So I will pour the entire pint of cream into this bowl, mix 2 eggs. Those are from the dozen earlier, so I would only have 10 with breakfast in that case, and then 2 here. In any case, I'm getting 12 eggs total during the day, so the macros are not affected. I will mix that up, and then I've oftentimes eaten this ice cream after it is frozen a little bit. I will eat it without any sweeteners added. I don't think the taste is that bad. It does taste better overall with a bit of sweetener though. So something that you can throw in is, I would go for stevia or allulose. Allulose has some benefits that I'm not going to go into in this video. You can look it up if you'd like. A guy named Nick Norwitz has videos explaining the benefits of allulose compared to other sweeteners. It's very unique in terms of how the body responds to it. This is what ice cream was supposed to be. This is actual iced cream. So I mixed this all up, put it in the freezer for 2 to 3 hours. Once I take it out, it has to thaw for a little bit. But if you time it just right, you're going to get this texture that resembles normal ice cream pretty much to the T. Now that said, you can also make this in a typical milk or milkshake form. I've been doing that a lot recently because it's simply easier. Drinking cream is not easy. It's very, very thick. It doesn't taste bad, I would say, but given the texture, it's just hard to kind of put down. So you can also break this up by mixing it with, for example, normal milk or even some water. This is a bomb in terms of the total fat intake. 12 grams of protein, 12 grams of carbs, and 172 grams of fat, totaling 1,644 calories. So up next is a half pound of 80/20 ground beef. And I either make this on the stove or in the air fryer. I tend to be favoring the air fryer recently because it's less cleanup and it's just easier to do, not as time consuming. So I will typically do that, and I will do 1 slice of more Tillamook cheese. This time it is the medium cheddar. So for the half pound of ground beef, that comes out to 38 grams of protein, no carbs, 44 grams of fat, and 548 calories. The one slice of cheese is 6 grams of protein, 1 gram of carb, 9 grams of fat, and 109 calories total. I will throw sour cream on top of this as well. So once I finally stuff that down, up next is the pre-workout meal, and that is raw milk. Yes, it is back. I was worried a bit about my digestion with this. Now, you guys know in the past I was drinking up to a half gallon of this a day. That's whenever I was getting the psoriasis breakout. Now, that said, I was also eating a lot of other foods that I have come to realize don't agree with me at the same time, so it's hard to say how much was the milk versus other things. Something to note with this milk, it is not only raw, meaning not pasteurized, not homogenized. That doesn't mean it's not sanitized. People think raw milk means it's just right out of the udder and people drink it. That is not the case if it's being sold under state guidelines. But it also is A2A2, and it keeps all of the vitamins, all of the enzymes, and all of the gut bacteria in it because it's not being heated before you consume it. 2 cups comes out to 16 grams of protein, 24 grams of carbs, and 16 grams of fat, 304 total calories. So I go lift, and once I get back home, it's time for the final meal of the day, which is very exciting, 1 pound of 80/20 ground beef. And I will put 2 slices of the Tillamook medium cheddar on top of that as well. That comes out to 76 grams of protein and 88 grams of fat in the beef, 12 grams of protein, 2 grams of carbs, and 18 grams of fat for 218 calories in the cheese. So now the grand total with all that food, we are at 6,044 calories per day. 280 grams of protein, 43 grams of carbs, and 528 grams of fat. So the macronutrient breakdown, this is very, very in opposition with what you commonly see. 18% from protein, 3% from carbs, and 79% from fats. The time of day I wake up has a big impact on how my eating schedule goes. So if I wake up as I'm scheduled to at, say, 7 a.m., and if I take a shower, get ready, start eating breakfast relatively quickly, that will set a good pace for the day. But if I stay up late, if I sleep in, if something happens and I don't get to my breakfast until, say, 9:30, 10 a.m., it just pushes the overall food that much farther back. And some of you guys may have experienced this on your bulks as well. You may have to be sitting up at night, just staring at that food like, I don't want to eat it. And you have a decision to make. Do you finish up that meal, or maybe even extra meals if you're in that scenario too, or do you just go to bed? That also gets into a debate of what's going to really make you grow more, the extra food or the extra sleep that you would get, as opposed to losing sleep but getting the extra food. Opinions are going to vary on that. I have not totally made my mind up one way or the other. I suppose you could say sleep would probably do more for your overall growth, but that also depends on how much food that you're missing out on. And now we'll finish up talking about my current supplement stack. And some news to start off here. I am officially a Transparent Labs affiliate. I'm a big fan of the company's vision. They have verified third-party testing for all of their products posted publicly, and you can use code REVIVAL to get 10% off all orders on their website. And that said, one of my favorite products of theirs is the collagen hydrolysate. Theirs is grass-fed. They source all of their protein from farms across the United States. I have never taken collagen before. One of the big roles of collagen is that it is going to support joints, especially as we get older. Natural collagen production starts to noticeably decrease around age 30. I'm not even 30 years old yet. I've got a few years to that point, but I want to get a head start, so to speak. Collagen as well is going to help restore the skin and the hair, so it has some cosmetic benefits as well if you're looking for that. And next up is the Hydrate Electrolyte Formula. Now, you guys have probably noticed it has been hot as balls outside lately. It has been like well over 90 degrees for multiple days in a row, even weeks in a lot of places. So when it comes to the heat and humidity, it's a good idea in general to take electrolytes, especially if you do not drink a ton of water during the day, and also depending on other factors in your diet. But I think you can also make the case for electrolytes even if you're not training in very warm weather. So this supplement has a great blend of ingredients. We've got calcium, magnesium, sodium, and potassium. It also includes taurine at 1 gram. We're going to talk about taurine in a second coming up, as well as Senactive that has been shown to boost performance during exercise. and endurance as well. If I am not sufficiently hydrated, which I usually judge by my urine, as well as some other signs, namely muscle tightness and cramping, as well as overall focus, I like to take this right before I train, but there is no sugar added and no artificial sweeteners or colors or anything like that either. They also have these Protein Plus bars. Now, you guys saw my full day of eating. I barely have any room for this at this point. That said, I do like these protein bars if I am traveling and I need to throw something in the bag just to snack on, so be sure to check those out if you would like to. Now, next up is vitamin D plus K2 plus A. If you live in a place where it rains a lot, gets cloudy a lot, especially if you've got winter months, almost every vitamin D supplement on the market that contains K2 only contains the MK7 form. This one has MK4, which is used for more overall functions in the body. Vitamin K2 also works synergistically with vitamin D, and the vitamin A thrown on top of that as well. Part of that comes from cod liver oil. It is a great blend of supplements, all in one single soft gel. This is a more specialized supplement that I recently started taking. This one is called Active Joint. It is specifically designed to strengthen the joints, the tendons, the cartilage, and the connective tissue. My biggest problem areas in terms of the joints and the tendons currently are the elbows. So it got to a point during my prep sometimes that my elbow, mainly on the left side, it would hurt so bad, I effectively could not train my arms. I would do one hard set of triceps, like the top set, and within a couple reps it would hurt. I just couldn't go farther. And the same would happen with the biceps too. And being unable to train arms, that's simply unacceptable. So I've been taking this supplement for about 4 weeks so far, and I can say within the first 10 to 14 days of taking it, that elbow stress I was getting definitely went down. It is not totally alleviated at this point, but it is much more manageable and not nearly as painful. It's to the point now where I am getting no interference on my sets anymore. Active Joint contains a mixture of 4 potent ingredients at high dosages that have been clinically shown to improve joint pain, function, and other related variables. Even if you do the warm-ups, the mobility, you put on the wraps and sleeves, you do the high-rep band work and everything, if you're still having trouble, definitely give this a shot. And next we go into what you could call the gateway drug of supplements, creatine. 5 grams a day, that is the standard serving. This drives water into the muscles, which gives you more fullness. It is known to boost muscular endurance during training, and it's going to assist in recovery to some extent as well. Creatine is pretty cheap. It's something that, as a lifter, I just take habitually. I'm probably never going to stop. I also am taking 5 grams of taurine per day. Now, this is one that has a lot of roles in the body that people are not very familiar with. I've only become more familiar with them recently myself, but it boosts hydration pathways in the body. That includes electrolytes. It's going to reduce muscle fatigue during training, and it's also going to provide antioxidant support across the body where needed as well. Those are just some of the benefits of taurine. Now, up next is L-carnitine. I am taking 7.5 grams per day. This one is commonly injected. That is because it's only 10 to 20% roughly as bioavailable if taken orally to get the same dose, but I would rather just take more spoonfuls than inject myself to get a supplement into me. But L-carnitine is going to enhance fat metabolism. It is said to boost training endurance. It helps reduce muscle damage and soreness, and it also increases the uptake of available blood sugar. If you guys want to check out one or more of these supplements, I will link them all in the description box down below. So that is everything. Stay tuned for updates as we continue forward with this bulk. It is more than likely going to go until 2025 at least, maybe even longer, but it is not easy. But nobody said this was going to be easy, nor is it supposed to be easy. But this has been it for me, guys. Thank you for watching. Be sure to grab your program and the Body Composition Bible down below. The best way to get in direct contact with me for questions about your own eating and training is via Patreon, linked down below as well, and you can grab a number of the things I talked about and referenced in this video down below as well. Thank you for the continued support, and I will catch you guys next time.